Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Atolagwe. Happy New Year to you. I hope you are doing well. In today's video, I'm talking about some of the tools that I have gotten in the last few months that are making my sewing easier, faster, better, more purposeful, and that are helping me to sew more efficiently. So for each of these tools, I'm going to have links in the description box where you can purchase them if you are up for that. Also, this is a list that I'm going to update as time goes on when I discover new tools and I try them and I have liked them or disliked them. So without much ado, I'm going to start with my rotary cutter. This is a 45mm rotary cutter that also comes with 5 extra blades, 5 replacement blades. There are 3 variations of blades in this replacement pack and 2 of them are serrated. So that means that when you use them to cut, you're going to have a zigzaggy edge, which I think can be a flex, a finishing on its own, especially on a fabric that does not fray, such as, say, leather. I love the rotary cutter so much because, well, it does not entirely replace a pair of scissors, but in many ways I no longer use a pair of scissors. I just use this. It's way easier for me to just glide this over the fabric and it just does the cutting for me. This paired with a cotton mat and a ruler is the best way for me to achieve a straight cut in record time, really, because before the rotary cutter, I would have to have drawn a line and then use my pair of scissors to cut on that line. But now I would just put this trio together and just glide away and I'm done in a matter of seconds. There are instances where this does not do the job. For instance, if I'm trying to create a notch in a fabric, which I always use a pair of scissors for. There are notches, I know that, but I don't have one yet. Also, if there is a very curvy curve, this would not be able to go into it, but I understand that there are smaller rotary cutters that are able to do this. So I think that I'm going to buy one of them in the future and also give you feedback as to how I feel about the smaller blades. If you buy a rotary cutter, definitely keep it away from your children and from yourself. While I have never cut myself, people have reported having cut themselves. There can be accidents, especially if it is left unlocked. So there is a button here which locks and unlocks the cutter. When I press it like this, it's unlocked and I can push this button and the blade is propelled outside. But if it is locked, no matter how hard I press here, it's not going to push the blade outside. So I think that that's a precaution to be taken. Also, in using this, make sure that you cut true. I find that when I do not exert enough strength into the cutting, it would sometimes not cut through. It would leave some uncut lengths in the fabric and that can be annoying because then I have to go over a second time, which can be messy, or I have to grab a pair of scissors to, cut the parts that somehow escaped the blade. That defeats the purpose of using this, so try to cut through. This brings me naturally to the next item on my list, which is a cotton mat. I'm going to get my own. Now this is a 90 by 60. This is a 90 by 60 centimeter cotton mat that I think is a decent size for medium-sized projects. It's also 3mm in thickness, which I understand to be the ideal thickness for a cotton mat. The other one is 2mm and it's not efficient enough. Why do I like a cotton mat? Well, unless you're looking to damage your floor or your table, or you're looking to, get your rotary cutter blade blunt fast, you're going to need a cotton mat to pair it with, on top of which you're going to do all of your cuttings. So when getting a rotary cutter, essentially one must get a cotton mat. But besides that, I like the fact that it is graduated. These graduations right here are priceless. It is graduated in inches and in centimeters on the other side. And it just helps with measuring things faster. You don't always have to reach for a ruler or a tape rule. You could just place stuff on here and then you just know where to cut. So I like it. I think that the graduations on top of it make my work easier. I also just think that it's an aesthetic. Now the next thing on my list is extra bobbins. This is an organizer of bobbins containing 36 bobbins. I would think that this goes without saying. However, when I first got my sewing machine a couple of months ago, I had maybe 3 or 4 bobbins that came with it, and I would have to undo threads around one in order to wind the bobbin with a new thread with the color that I wanted to sew something in, and that used to take a lot of time, and it was just a tedious and unnecessary task. So I got myself this pack of 36 bobbins, which would allow me to have as many useful bobbins, available bobbins as possible. Next on my list is a bias strip maker. Now we all know how important biases are in sewing. They come in handy in a lot of ways, functional and for decorative purposes. We also know that biases are readily available in the market. However, there are times when it makes sense to create a custom-made bias or a specific size that isn't readily available. Personally, I would use a bias to create a casing for my boning. I would just not cut the bias on the bias. I would cut it on a straight grain. So I think that this is a very essential tool for anyone who sews. This tool has 4 sizes of bias strip makers inside of it. You simply have to take one of them, insert the fabric at the bigger end of the tool, and then pull it out at the smaller end while ironing as you pull it out. It also comes with a bias strip foot, an awl, which otherwise would seem like an extra gift until you find out that you really need this to pull out the fabric on the other end up, because your hand cannot go all the way in. Also, there are pegs in here which I personally never used, and there is a box of 50 cute colored head pins. So this is the 5th tool that I think I'm so proud that I own. The next thing on my list is a pattern master. Now, this is arguably more of a pattern making tool than a sewing tool, but I think that everyone who sews dabbles in pattern making in some way or the other. Either you are making your own patterns from scratch or you're modifying existing patterns. I like this tool so much because, I mean, it's called Pattern Master for a reason. This flexible Pattern Master has straight lines and has curves on it. In particular, the straight edge of this line also has gradations. This is important for me because before now, I would usually not add stitching allowance on paper. I would just transfer the pattern onto fabric and add stitching allowance there because I was trying to get the easier way out. However, since I got this Pattern Master, I'm not saying that I would no longer do that, but now adding stitching allowance on paper has actually become the faster route for me, because I would just place this and in one swoop of my hand, I already added stitching allowance to one side of the fabric. I think that this is a huge time saver. I think that this is something that we all must have if we make clothes in any capacity. To the last tool on my list, this is a magnetic pin holder. It seems like not much, but I like the fact that if I have my pins scattered around on the table, on the floor, I just have to sweep this over them and it just picks them up for me. This is a huge time saver and organizer for me. So what do you think of these tools? Have you used them before? Do you feel similarly about them? Also, let me know if there are other tools you'd like me to buy and review in subsequent lists, or let me know what tools that you're using that are making you a more efficient sewist. This brings me to the end of this video. If you have enjoyed this video or learned something from it, definitely give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for similar content. Also, thank you so much for watching today's video. I will see you in the next one. Bye. Stay safe.